Well, they say you can't go home again, but apparently you can, just to wring a few more bucks out of it. So, Toy Story 4 teaser trailer. There's very little for me to actually talk about because there's almost no substance in this, which is, that, you know, that's not necessarily criticism. It's a teaser. It's practically an announcement trailer for people who forgot that this is a thing that is in fact happening. So, you know, I'm not going to be like, it doesn't tell us anything about this. It's a teaser. Who cares? But it gives me an opportunity to talk about my thoughts on this project in general. And also, what little we see, I just think shows the nakedness of the cash grab nature of this. And look, you don't have to, like, people always mention this when I say, why would you make this movie? Oh, they're making it to make money. Yes, literally every movie is made to make money. Even if the director is doing a personal passion project, he still wants it to make, he or she still wants it to make money so that they can continue to do their job in the future. And whoever's financially backing the project absolutely wants it to make money. Every single movie is made to make money. Take that as a given and stop pointing that out to me. But it's becoming really frustrating for me because, you know, especially because I had my video not long ago about, you know, the Disney live action remakes of the animated films. And a lot of people in the comments were like, Disney has no ideas left. And I'm like, that's not true at all. Because Disney's been making really good original stuff in the last few years. I mean, it's getting a sequel too, but Frozen was good. Moana was great. You know, Wreck-It Ralph was phenomenal. Also getting a sequel that I don't want to see. But that's sort of my point. Disney's not out of juice. They just can't stop themselves when they get something that works. They can't stop themselves from milking it until it's not worth being milked anymore. And Toy Story is especially aggravating because, okay, first of all, I don't like Toy Story 3 as much as a lot of people like Toy Story 3. But I do still like it, and I do think it is absolutely the end of that story. Are the toys gone forever? No, they're not. But the story that was being told is over. And anything that you would want to do, like with similar themes, just I would much rather they do it with a new cast and a new setting and just do new stuff. It felt like closure. It felt like a true ending to that franchise. And then here's this teaser with all of them in arms rotating around. And it's just like this slow parade of, remember this and this, you liked this, you spent money on this, you want to spend more money on this, how about this one? And you know what little hints we've gotten about the story don't fill me with a ton of enthusiasm either. Because, like, basically we've gotten two hints about what the story is going to involve. There is the quote-unquote new toy, which we actually see in the teaser, Forky, I think they actually call him, who is very clearly a makeshift toy. You know, he wasn't built to be a toy. He was something that a kid threw together as like an art project and is now being used as a toy. And that's not a completely uninteresting angle, like how being a toy that comes about in that manner might set him apart from the other toys and maybe even put him in an existential crisis. Like, honestly, that's the kind of thing that I wouldn't be against exploring in one of those Toy Story shorts that they were doing for a while there. Sure, I figure like you could get mileage. You could get 15 minutes out of that. Sure. The other thing is supposedly rescuing Bo Peep, who was so vital to the series that she was completely unceremoniously dropped from the third film with basically a 2-line acknowledgement that she had ever existed before. So, just the cynicism that this is going to happen at all is just annoying and frustrating for me. Now, all of this said, I will ultimately probably see it eventually. I mean, I've got a young kid. She's probably going to want to see it. And had I been, you know, obviously I was too young to be doing that. Well, YouTube also wasn't a thing. I'm old. But if I was in a similar position when Toy Story 2 came out that I am in right now, I probably would be saying the same things about Toy Story 2. Like, to be fair. And then Toy Story 2 was not only good, it was better than the first one. So, I am not completely shut off from the possibility that another Toy Story could end up being the surprise thing that is much better than it has any right to be. But the thing is, the bar has kept getting raised for this series particularly. Again, I still like number 2 the best, but number 3, you know, was ambitious and was a closure narrative. And there's nothing about any of the other sequel projects that have come out of Pixar that give me a lot of hope. You know, I look at something like, well, Cripes, you know, I haven't watched the Cars sequel, so I can't really talk about them. I've seen about half of Monsters University, and then I found something else to do with my time. And, you know, Finding Dory and Incredibles 2, neither one was awful. Neither one was even close to as good as the first one, and neither one was necessary. And I think it's become very clear at this point that Toy Story 2, I don't want to go so far as to call it a fluke, but it was an exception. We cannot look at that and go, Pixar makes good sequels. Because based off their track record, they've made a great sequel, arguably 2, depending on your thoughts on Toy Story 3, for one franchise. And that's kind of it. Whoa, hey, look at that weird cut in the middle of the thing. What happened? Well, Pixar went and released another teaser. And again, yes, it is a teaser. So far as we can tell, actually, no, definitely. This is not a clip from the actual film. And it's a little better than what was done before. Very little. So this one, the more I think about it, the weirder it is. So this one it's sort of set like at a fair or a carnival, and like one of those carnival games where, like, you know, you try and knock over milk bottles or throw darts at balloons or whatever and win prizes. And two of those kind of stuffed toys are talking with each other. Now, I kind of like, in general, the idea of a different attitude being held by toys that originate from different places. So, like, at first I was like, oh, this is kind of neat, you know, this more, you know, loose, not having this sort of, oh, you know, we have a responsibility to kids. You know, these guys seem, you know, way more, you know, loose, a little bit carefree. And then I recognize the voice. I'm like, oh my God, it's Key and Peele. Which is not a bad thing. I like Key and Peele, but they're doing their doorman routine as toys. Which is weird for a lot of reasons. The first being, like, that's a kind of a dated reference. Show's been off the air for, what, 3 years now? It's not exactly new and fresh and topical. And then, in addition to that, it's like, who's that aimed at? Because Key and Peele is not a show that would be watched by the target demographic of this, but is this their attempt to, like, well, I say that, but then I think about that first teaser and how it's like, look at the characters you loved. And it's very obviously trying to tug on the heartstrings of the nostalgia crowd. And maybe this is them trying to be like, oh, see, we can be slightly edgy. Because one of the things that was really good about the Toy Story franchise was it did age with its audience, basically because its audience presumably was Andy's age, and they got the same actor back to play Andy every time. You're watching the target demographic grow up, and the film changed with that. Now, like, who is this joke for? Like, if you're starting a fresh start, presumably Andy's not in this one anymore. Shouldn't we be getting a clean break? And you shouldn't still be trying to appeal to what is now it'll be 9 years later from the last time you did one. Another 9 years out of it. Like, what is this? Who is this for? And I don't mean to put so much, because it's probably just like a nice little fun gag, and the jokes aren't bad, but once I recognize the components, and I'm just confounded by this. I don't. This whole thing, I don't know why it exists. I don't know why it's a thing that we are going to be subjected to, other than money. Yes, I understand it exists to make money. I get that, but some studios are able to take the fact that this will make us a lot of money, but also find a artistic justification for it. And it'd be awesome to see this and be suddenly surprised by, oh wow, look at that, they totally justified doing a fourth one, but I ain't expecting that. So that's now 2 teaser trailers for Toy Story 4. What do you think about either one of them, or both of them, or the existence of this thing at all? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. A whole bunch of stuff you can do, because there's buttons and there's links, including one to my Patreon, if you feel like supporting me that way. If you don't worry. Other links you can check out as well. But if you don't want to look at any of them, don't even worry about it, because at the end of the day, folks, you're the council. I just run the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.